Wisdom. Moses climbed the highest mountain to talk of a burning bush and came back with the wisdom of the 10 Commandments. And ever since, wise men have ascended above the material world, have climbed the highest mountain to find wisdom, then come back down from the mountain to bestow our gifts upon mankind. Of course, before Spider Jerusalem comes back down the mountain, he bazookas the dive bar where most of his wisdom seeking actually happened. Welcome to Transmetropolitan. It's the late 1990s and comics are big business. For the Zoomers, comics were a 20th century narrative media of cartoon frames printed on actual paper. Fueled by media frenzies around Jim Lee's X-Men #1 in 1991 and the death of Superman in '92, combined with rampant financial speculation and variant covers that saw almost any comic with a piece of tinfoil attached sell for thousands of dollars. Comics in the 90s experienced a renaissance that created a generation of superstar comic artists and writers. Image Comics was founded as a creator-owned publisher by Todd McFarlane, Eric Larson, and Rob Liefeld. While DC founded the legendary Vertigo imprint with titles written by Neil Gaiman, Grant Morrison, and Garth Ennis. Seeking to expand their success, DC headhunted a new writer called Warren Ellis to create a new title with almost no limitations. Initially published in 1997 through DC's Helix imprint, then through Vertigo Comics, Transmetropolitan would run until 2002 and become one of DC's most successful non-superhero comics. And somehow, this cyberpunk comic published 25 years ago is a stark guide to politics in 2025. Journalism is just a gun. It's got only one bullet in it, but if you aim right, that's all you need. Aim it right and you can blow a kneecap off the world. Spider Jerusalem. Because Spider isn't a prophet or philosopher. Spider Jerusalem is a journalist. In fact, he's Hunter S. Thompson. Spider Jerusalem is basically cyberpunk Hunter S. Thompson, blasting a path of fear and loathing across the city as he publishes one blistering piece of gonzo journalism after another, while smoking cigs and necking anti-cancer meds, which aren't real. What? Did you think I was actually going to set fire to this festering clump of carcinogens, then suck on it? Fuck that! Don't smoke, dimbos! So this is the basic premise of Transmetropolitan. In every story arc, Spider Jerusalem, accompanied by his filthy assistants, pieces together a new dark truth about the city to be published in his regular column, I Hate It Here. The title expressing the author's basic feelings about existence, while menacing people with his bow disruptor and fighting his arch-enemies, the Beast and the Smiler, who are not Batman supervillains, but politicians, you know, real criminals. Nobody wants compassion. It doesn't sell. We can't make a living off it. Bob Heller, aka the Beast. It's amazing how much these look like MAGA rallies. Bob Heller, leader of America for Americans, aka the Beast, is Spider Jerusalem's first major antagonist in Transmetropolitan. The Beast is corrupt and violent. He's as much like a mob boss or a union chief than he is like a president. But he's the president the people keep choosing. There is a certain catharsis in watching Spider beat up Trump Heller, but it's the Beast who wins. Spider Jerusalem hates the Beast, not for his many crimes, but because time and again the Beast proves that Jerusalem is wrong to believe in the people. Like all idealists, activists, crusaders, and social justice warriors, Spider Jerusalem believes that a better world is possible. If the people can just get our shit together and cooperate, but the people don't want to work together. We just want to screw each other up and fuck each other over. And we just want a strongman leader we believe will fuck over other people on our behalf. Which makes the beast an archetype that arises again and again from the collective unconscious of the modern political landscape. For decades, Richard Nixon was the avatar of this archetype. But Nixon was a pale shade of the dark, hulking beast that is Trump. Trump's triumph is as much a mystery to his opponents as the beast is to Spider Jerusalem. But eventually, the beast shows Spider the truth.
If 51% eat a meal tomorrow and 49% don't, I've done my job.
Men like Trump and the beast see humans for the sinners we are. Whether you're a thief or a fraudster, a huckster or a con man, a philanderer, liar, traitor, narcissist, debtor, gambler, or whatever your human sin is. Oh, you're none of the above? Really? Really? Well, Donald Trump is all of the above, and more. So whatever your sinful soul, you won't feel judged by the Donald or the beast. And you can believe, with good reason, that they will make America great again. AKA, a better place for sinners like you. We thought we got past leaders like the beast. But then Transmetropolitan shows us the upgrade.
The false guru is a repeat archetype in Transmetropolitan. Like Fred Christ, leader of the Transients,
Humans transforming themselves with alien DNA. It's the immoral narcissist who will say anything for fame and fortune that you have to worry most about. Russell Brand's career was only just beginning when Transmetropolitan ended, but the Jesus-like Brand could be a character straight from the comics, as are Brand's pitiful followers, who will likely be found in the comics of this video, insisting that the aging narcissist really is the Messiah. If Transmetropolitan ever makes it to the big screen, we will have to cast Russell as Fred Christ. The man is so vain, he'll never even notice this story is about him. It's not quite accurate to call Transmetropolitan cyberpunk.
cyberpunk has its precursors with science fiction authors like John Brunner and Philip K. Dick. It hits its stride with Blade Runner in 1982, then William Gibson's Neuromancer, Akira, and Ghost in the Shell.
Neil Stephenson's Snow Crash in 1992 marks the beginning of post-cyberpunk. The tropes of cyberpunk, jacking in, virtual worlds, cybernetic enhancements, are now so familiar they are the subject of reinvention and deconstruction. Any book with a hero protagonist called Hero Protagonist is certainly post-something. Transmetropolitan, along with novelists like Charles Stross and Cory Doctorow, is in this post-cyberpunk mode. Cyberpunk imagery is plastered all over Derek Robinson's splendid art, but in Warren Ellis's hands, cyberpunk becomes metaphor for class. Star Trek-style matter converters are standard in Transmet, but a base block of matter is only affordable to the professional managerial classes or above. Everyone else has to subsist on recycled garbage. Transmet is written as a new belief in technology is sweeping across the world. The Berlin Wall had fallen and nobody needed to worry about class anymore because free markets, high-tech and capitalism were going to end history. Transmet is here to show you that even matter replicators won't end scarcity because neoliberalism is bullshit.
So, what is neoliberalism? We can talk about free market economics, privatization of public services, and many more policies. But Transmetropolitan suggests a more direct answer. After decades that made us all more equal, neoliberalism is the reassertion of old class divides, the rich and powerful putting the rest of us back in our place as the proletariat.
So Warren Ellis and Transmetropolitan are best understood as part of the wave of left-wing British comics creators of the 80s and 90s who made class central to science fiction and pushed back against the era of neoliberalism that began with Reagan and Thatcher.
Transmetropolitan owes a debt to John Wagner's Judge Dredd, the parody of state fascism and police brutality, with the character really hitting his stride after the election of Maggie Thatcher in 80s Britain. Megacity 1 is a dystopia where capitalism and free markets rule.
800 million people living in the ruin of the old world.
But only because the fascist Joseph Dredd is the law. Neoliberalism is the smiling face of fascism, a lesson we'll learn again in Transmetropolitan. I'm sure the second Dredd movie is an okay action flick, but look, Judge Dredd isn't supposed to give you a hard-on watching the policeman blow the brains out of the poor people. Comics writers like Alan Moore, Grant Morrison and Garth Ennis all created stories with similarly left, socialist or explicitly Marxist critiques of neoliberalism for a generation of working-class readers who still had some remnants of class consciousness. It's hard to imagine stories like Judge Dredd, V for Vendetta, The Invisibles or Transmet finding working-class readers today when so many young men have been recruited by soft fascism via online movements like Gamergate or the manufactured hysteria against woke Disney, and after 4 decades of neoliberal propaganda.
Image of the Labour Party's got to be an image that's more dynamic, more modern, more suited.
Transmetropolitan began publication in 1997, the same year Tony Blair was elected Prime Minister of Great Britain and began work to make his classless society. New Labour gutted Britain with sweeping reforms and privatisations.
I hate people more than anything. I hate you all, you scum.
Gary Callahan, aka the Smiler, is the president who follows the beast. He's a composite of smiling, liberal politicians like John F. Kennedy, Bill Clinton, and Tony Blair.
The bow disruptors charge, the president's in sight. A loaded column primed to detonate on sight. The masses choke on headlines, fed corporate spite. We're wired, we're fried, but we'll never bite. Rage on through the circuit's blight. Rage on till the wrongs are right. Rage on, crash the system's fight. Rage on till we blast the night.
The Smiler is the good cop to the beast bad cop. The beast scares you with fascism. The Smiler seems to offer democracy and freedom. But both cops are being paid to get you to confess to neoliberalism. Transmetropolitan saw neoliberalism coming. The left-wing comics of the 80s and 90s, from Judge Dredd to The Invisibles and Transmetropolitan, were created in the early stages of the new neoliberal order that has now grown into its final Pikachu form. Neoliberalism is the monstrous end stage of liberalism. Liberal ideals, free markets, individualism, trickle-down economics that might have had value in moderation have grown to become pathological in neoliberalism. Both Trump and whichever smiling technocrat they find for the next election are masks for neoliberalism. The beast or the smiler or the beast. Any politics you like, as long as it's neoliberalism. Authoritarian politicians like the beast or Trump don't believe humans can change. They believe the human condition is weak, so they can always exploit us. But liberal politicians like Tony Blair and his parody The Smiler believe you can change. They believe you should change. In fact, you must change. They insist. What Transmetropolitan nails is the pure hate and contempt that neoliberal politics has for the working class, either because we can't change or because we can but won't. Neoliberalism hates us for not being perfectible parts of their utopian classless society. Neoliberalism hates us for being human. Because the moral and message that Transmetropolitan screams into the face of the reader over and over again is this: there are no saviors. Wild-haired and wild-eyed, Spider Jerusalem is less Moses bringing word of God to the masses than Zarathustra bringing the word of Nietzsche. Like a pop culture Friedrich Nietzsche, Warren Ellis uses Transmetropolitan to beat his readers to death with the realization that there is no ideology to believe, no story to be part of, no hero to follow, and no God to pray to. There's just us, humanity, in all our dirty, glorious imperfection. Which, look, let's get the elephants out of the room. Warren Ellis abused his fame with something like 60 to 100 of his female fans who all believed they were his girlfriend. Transmetropolitan's creator confronts us with the same realization as the comic. There are no role models, heroes, gurus, or saviors. Even the cat is a two-faced, chain-smoking pissant. And the chap telling you the story is a scumbag. If you need humans to be perfect or even just not awful before you can accept being human, Transmetropolitan shrieks at us, then you're shit out of luck. Because to be human is to be the filth of the city. The city is Transmetropolitan's title character. If Spider Jerusalem is Warren Ellis, then the city is Derek Robertson. It writhes and thrives in the corners of every frame, the background of every page of Transmetropolitan. The city, like Megacity One before it, is the extrapolation of neoliberalism to the end state where free market capitalism leads, to high-tech barbarism. Transmetropolitan could be set in ancient Babylon, Athens, or Rome. The cyberpunk city of the future is the barbarous metropolis of the past, with added superweapons for the fascist police. The city is Spider Jerusalem's ultimate antagonist, and it defeats him as it defeats everyone who tries to save humanity from ourselves. Because humans won't be saved. We can only save ourselves by accepting our humanity, not trying to make humans perfect parts of the capitalist machine. So, Spider Jerusalem is a beautiful character because he sees the full, filthy reality of humanity. He hates it here. And he still loves being human.